Test, test. Test, test. Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. What is up? I feel like it has been a hot minute since I did this, probably a couple weeks ago. Of course, that pops up right when I start recording. But yeah, honestly, I'm just gonna get right into it. With the draft coming, the NHL draft coming next week. Unfortunately, congratulations to the Florida Panthers. I hate to say that, but honestly, they are one of the best teams. Like, they have Kachuk. They have a goal. They have a star goalie. Like, they are the Tampa team from a couple years ago. Like, Tampa won back-to-back cups because they basically believed in their team. But the funny thing is, the Panthers have kind of done the opposite of what Tampa did. Well, similar, but Tampa drafted most of their players. The Panthers built that team, and you can look this up. Built that team. Besides Ekblad, most of the players on that team are like 3 years old. So they must have just perfectly found the right amount of players, and it obviously worked because they've won the first cup in their franchise history. So congrats to them. I'm very upset that McDavid didn't win. But I mean, maybe next year we'll see what happens with Draisaitl, because I know there's news there. I'm going to be talking about the Patriots if I have time after I do a mock draft for Boston, because like I said, the draft is next week. And in big news, Boston has traded Linus Ullmark. And kind of shocking news. I mean, it was 50-50 shocking, because I honestly believed that they would have kept him and they would have just figured things out. But maybe then an article came out after saying he didn't want to sign an extension. So maybe that was it. Maybe Sweeney's hands were tied, or Sweeney decided, I'm going to get the value that I can out of this guy right now. And people are saying they should have traded him last year. People are saying they should have traded Swayman to get a better deal. But I think this is the right direction. They traded a goalie that wasn't going to re-sign with them. They kept the younger goalie, and they got a first-round pick. It was their first-round pick, so they can do anything with that pick now. They can trade it again. They got to keep their goalie. They did get whatever his name is, Corpus, who used to play on Columbus, back, and his contract was bad, so I wonder if they're going to try and flip him, or, I mean, worst case, keep him, and now you have a goalie locked up for a couple years. But in that situation, if that's what they were doing, why not just keep Ullmark? Because I'm now really worried that Swayman is not going to play as well without his brother, basically. Like, they formed a bond, and now we don't get any more goalie hugs. We don't get any more just like razzing each other back and forth. So that's going to be that either might make a big step up for Swayman to, like, show him that, okay, you're a number one guy, and maybe he can be like, okay, I'm going to take the reins and now this is my job. Or he's going to do the flip side and completely crumble, and then not gain that confidence back, because maybe Ullmark was helping that. But as fans, we don't see behind the scenes at all. That's why I like watching the behind the scenes for a lot of things, but we don't see every single little conversation that they have, because a lot of those is private, and a lot of those they don't want somebody's decision to be swayed, because, ironically worded, they don't want their decision to be swayed because 1,000 people online telling him to stay. I'd rather a happy goalie leave the team than a mad goalie stay, because then he's just not going to play. And I've seen goalies like that they've been upset at their team and they just refuse to actually do anything. But yeah, let's just get it right into this. I'm just gonna click Boston. I don't know what this site is. I found it earlier today. It seemed kind of cool. It's called FC Hockey, kind of similar to the NFL draft sites that I found before. And if anybody for some reason doesn't know, Utah now has a hockey team. They've taken over Arizona. Currently, there is no name, but I think it is going to be called the Yetis. I have no source. That's just my complete opinion from what I've seen online, from what other people have been saying. I've seen Venom. I've seen literally the Utah Hockey Club. Like, they might do that for a year, like what Washington did, Washington Commanders. I personally like the Venom, and I think that might be kind of cool, because we don't have teams like that. There's no like Snake or Venom or like, and you could call it the Snake Pit. I think that would be really cool. But all of those names, like the Yeti, instant rivalry with the Avalanche because snow. And it's super ironic that if they call themselves the Yeti, the team that they took over was the Coyotes, the two most opposite places in the world. But let's test this out. Yeah, so like I said, Boston does have the 25th pick. Again, this is a computer simulated website, so there might be players that will be available. My hope, from what I've just seen online, I weirdly got more into the NFL draft than the hockey draft, because it does take longer for players to get into the NHL than football. But the one guy that I personally would hope, but it's a low hope, TJ Aginla, Jerome Aginla's son. He may go higher than everybody is projecting him to go, but if for whatever reason he drops, I think he would be a perfect player. But if it all goes according to plan and he doesn't drop, there is a 6'7" center just like Tage Thompson that I saw before. So let's just get into this. We'll just do one round because Boston doesn't have another pick until 4. And after 4, in my mind, it's all kind of a crapshoot at that point. You're just kind of taking a guy because he's got a weird stat, or he's tall, or he's a goalie, or yada yada. Like, after the 3rd round, it's all just like okay, we're going to take a chance on this guy. Though, I've seen teams pick their guy. I've seen teams take a chance on a guy, and sometimes neither work. Sometimes both work. So let's just try this. So Bleeding obviously goes first. That guy, the Russian. A couple names that I just don't recognize are going off the board. TJ Ginla. Yep, there goes TJ Ginla. I for some reason actually can't trade in this app. I don't know why. There's also no time limit for me. For some reason, Toronto decided to take a hot minute taking their pick. Boston that's ironic to pick a guy named Linus. Boston is in need of that centerman, though I was saying earlier, because everybody's trying to find, Boston included and other teams, everybody's trying to find that Bergeron, that perfect two-way player, or that Marchand, that guy who can get under your skin, who may not have scored a lot of goals early in his career, but has now turned it around. But I think Boston should try and find another type of Krejci, who not only set up the play, knew where to set up the play, knew how to set up the play. He was thinking 5 steps ahead of everybody. Even if the play didn't work, he knew how to set up the play and not have it be like a tremendous like turnover. Which again you could still take. I've seen people take this guy. 5'10" though, I don't really like his height. I've seen this guy projected to Boston. Again, I don't like his height. I don't know who this guy is. I'm just kind of clicking on a couple random names. This guy's 6 foot, and Swedish players for Boston have worked out. His weight is a little concerning for me. Sorry about that. The Q haven't really... They're not hitting, so I don't know if he would be like a tough guy. This does help that the ranking is next to me. Again, what Boston could do is they could just easily trade down and just acquire more picks. A lot of these guys are very small. Okay, Michael Hegg. He's from the USHL, which is ironic that he's nationality of Canada but plays in there. I'm just going to take Michael Hegg just because I like his height. He's a right shot. I can't seem to find that 6'7" centerman, I thought. I wonder if that guy is Hal Gill's son. That guy was huge. That guy's also huge. But he is a defenseman, so that makes sense. Yeah, I just don't like the small type of players. I'm just gonna go. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just gonna go Michael Hegg. Whatever. Again, this is all just my opinion, and these names might change later in the draft, or later in the coming days. But I assume Celebrini is going to go first, though. This Ivan guy, and I think this guy, there's a lot of what I'm noticing, a lot of what am I trying to say? Is that 6'7"? No, he's a defenseman. There's a lot of European players, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying like that's a good thing, like which sometimes makes for a better draft, because if you've looked at all of the European players in a draft that has a majority of European players picking high, it's like Draisaitl, and it's Pasternak, and it's all I can think of is American players, but you know what I mean. Like all of those type of players usually end up being great. I want to see if somebody drafted that 6'7" guy. I don't see him. The only 6'7" guy is that defense, but an announcer said he was a centerman. But yeah, I personally think what Boston might do with this pick is either trade it for a centerman, but who? Nobody's really like offering a first line centerman or like a Krejci type player. I think they're going to use it, and I think it's going to be on a centerman. I do unfortunately think it's going to be on a short centerman, because that's what they've been going with lately. But I mean, we'll see. Like, there is that 6'7" guy. There could be a name that drops, like maybe a Ginla drops. If a Ginla drops, that would be an amazing pick. But I don't know if he will. But the good thing about him either dropping or rising is other names would start dropping. Like this Hemming guy, I'm literally just going off of height right now. This Hemming guy is 6'2", and he's a right wing. And like with left wings, you could probably teach them how to be a centerman, though it's probably better to try and find a proper centerman. Greentree, he's 6'2". Senek, I think, is 6'2". That's funny that it says NCAA. I thought that was high school. But yeah, what time is it? Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll next talk about. I guess that was a quicker draft than I thought. Maybe I'll try it again, because it was quite quick actually. Not too sure how to do this. There. See if any names. Oh, I don't know what happened. Sorry, I got distracted. Too many things are popping up. I don't know what this is. Whatever. I'm gonna talk about the Patriots, but the Patriots haven't. I mean, obviously the preseason is coming to a close soon. Oh, sorry, not the preseason. Yeah. No, they haven't played any. The off season is coming to a close. The preseason is coming up in less than 10 days, I believe. Maybe even less than that. So I'm very excited to see how the offense goes. All of the analysts on TV and websites and all of that are saying the Patriots are gonna have one of the best defenses, which is great because now they can fully focus on offense and really drive home the point of of having the best, or one of the best offenses. I personally think they're gonna go 10-9. I think they're gonna win week one. I though it depends on who they start at quarterback, so we'll see what happens there. Like maybe Drake May, maybe they just decide we're just gonna throw in Drake May and see what happens, or we're gonna put Jacoby Brissett in for a couple games and see if he's got anything left in the tank. But I would like them to start Drake May first, though. You gotta play the guy who played great in the preseason or in the off season, and the guy who played great in the preseason. Like if Jacoby Brissett plays better in the off season, but then Drake May plays better in the preseason, then Drake May I'd say was the starter. But we'll see. You never know what's gonna happen compared to the off season versus a player in an actual game. Like here it's pretty much like preseason is pretty much a regular season. Like people still get injured, they're still tackling, they're just not giving their all. So you kind of have to assume that as any new player coming into the league. You can't assume, oh wow, like this is easy. It's like, no, they're giving half of their strength because they don't want to injure themselves. They don't want to injure you, but they'd rather not injure themselves in preseason. But I'm very, like, almost unanimously, everyone has said that the Patriots had one of the best drafts, which was awesome to hear after post Bill Belichick. Also, side news, he's got like a 22-year-old girlfriend, and everybody's freaking out over it. It's like, so what? Like I don't, who, doesn't matter. Like, she's 22, she can make her own decisions. Is the age gap extremely weird? Yes, it's extremely weird. Should it happen? Probably not. But whatever. I'm not here to talk about that. But I'm very excited to see how the Patriots come out of the gate this year. I want to see if it takes them a little bit, or if maybe just right off the bat they're going to be good, or maybe this year is more about learning and just getting used to the playbook. I wonder if, because of it's a new era, I wonder if they've asked Drake May and Brissett what plays that they like, rather than here's the playbook, learn it. Because the one thing that I remember Mayo was good at, I forget if he was in like a trench defensive back, or he was a cover back. I can't remember. I think he was a middle linebacker for some reason, or I'm thinking of another person. But anyways, he was always very good at working on the fly. Like, he was one of the best players for that. He knew what to do in that quick second if A, B, and C plans failed. Like, he knew what he had, D and E and F and G all lined up just in case. And I wonder if he's gonna put that into his coaching, or if he's just gonna go with what the Patriots knew best last year. That's the interesting thing we're gonna do right now, or not right this second, but is see how he coaches the team. See what is his kind of sprinkle on the team. Is it gonna be post era Belichick with Mayo at the helm, or is it going to be Mayo's team? And time can only tell of what he does. Like, is he going to instantly try and make this his team, or is he kind of going to build it up? He got his franchise quarterback. He got a couple wide receivers. He's building up the O-line. He already has one of the best defenses in the league. It sounds like they should just instantly be good, though that's a high expectation for a team who has completely turned themselves around. Lost their franchise quarterback in Brady, lost their franchise coach, is now with a completely new coach who has never coached before, I might add. He might be good, he might be bad, but this might be more of an experimental season than people want it to be. Though, maybe it won't be. That's kind of the experiment in itself. But in other sports news, because there's not really much to talk about with the Patriots until preseason happens, we'll see what happens with that. But in other news, in weirdly big news, the Jays have come out and said it's a business. We are okay with trading Guerrero to the Yankees. I don't know what's happening with the Jays. I don't know if they want to trade Guerrero and Bo Bichette and try and restart, but it would be ironic if they do, because that's exactly what the Leafs need to do. I'm not even saying the Leafs core sucks as a Bruins fan. I'm saying it as a hockey fan. Like, you're wasting all of these guys' careers. I didn't know that Marner is like 28 or 27. Like, you've completely ruined his youth by being on this team. And you have nothing to show for it. You have one game, round 2 game, sorry, I lost my train of thought. You have one win in round 2 in 20 years. Every single player that has left the Leafs to join another team has won the cup. Lanny McDonald, I think his name was, the guy with the bushy mustache who played on the Flames. Kessel got 2 or 3. Hyman was close, but had a way better opportunity on Edmonton than he ever did on Toronto. Carter Verhaeghe was drafted by the Leafs, and he just won a cup. Like, I don't get why the Leafs are holding on to these players. Like, go look at what Florida did. Florida did. I was mixing up the team that they traded with, but Florida traded the top 2 players on the team for a disgruntled Matthew Tkachuk on a youthful Flames team. And it obviously didn't work out for the Flames, but it worked out swimmingly for the Panthers. The time that they had him on their team, which was only 2 seasons, they made the Cup Finals twice and won it. Like, that was an insane trade to do. That trade probably wouldn't have even worked in the NHL game. But that's the type of trades that you need to do if your team is continuing to struggle year after year after year. Like, the Leafs just don't understand that their core is not good. Like, their core, like that core. If you traded Matthews and you traded Marner and you traded Tavares and you traded Nylander, they're all going to play amazing on their new teams, and everybody's going to be like, oh, see, this is why we don't trade them. It's like, no. They're doing better because they're not in the shadow of each other, because they're not all trying to be the top dog in the kitchen. The saying that I say all the times for the Leafs is, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. There's too many people trying to be the top guy, and not enough people who understand their role. And then even if you do have a guy who understands his role, like Riley, he's too disgruntled to say anything. They should have given that captaincy to Riley. I don't know why they didn't. But, we'll see what happens. Like, the Spit and Chicklets podcast, Biz Nasty said, boys, I think we need to run it back, and even his own group of guys laughed at him. It's like, no, you can't run it back with this team that has showed nothing at all. Like, that team hasn't showed anything. Compare them to the biggest rival in the Bruins. The Bruins literally made the Cup final in 2019. And then they had one of the greatest regular seasons in all time. I get regular season doesn't mean anything, but they at least made it a competition. Like, now people are just assuming that the Leafs are gonna lose in the first round because that's just what they've been doing. If the Leafs never won a cup, any money they probably would have changed. Two things. If the Leafs never won a cup in '67 and they weren't an original six team, they would have already moved franchises. Yeah, great. They've made the playoffs, round one. Okay, what is your next expectation in 20 years to get to round two? And is it going to take another 20 years to get to round three? And then another 20 years to get to the Stanley Cup? And then another 20 years to win it? It's going to be 80 years by the time you win it. Like, I don't get what they're trying to do. But I have 5 minutes left, so I'll just continue talking about other sports here. But yeah, I guess Guerrero is maybe in talks with the Yankees. So we'll see where that evolves from. I doubt the Jays are going to trade Guerrero and Bo Bichette, but honestly, maybe you never know. Nobody's untradeable. Cooper, the coach of Tampa, was selected for the Four Nations Team Canada, so that's very exciting. The Anunoby is opting out, so he is going to be a free agent next year. I wonder if he just didn't want to play on the Knicks. I was very surprised that he opted out because I thought the Knicks were a nice young team. But I guess he just didn't like the Knicks, so that's a big loss for the Knicks because I think they traded a first, I could be wrong, and RJ Barrett and like a smaller prospect. And he could just re-sign with the Raptors. Like, that would be an amazing pickup for the Raptors. It might just be a 1 year, or maybe they won't re-sign him, but we'll see what happens with that. To see what team he goes to. He is an amazing player, and he did great for the Raptors. And I think he's going to get a payday because he wasn't getting paid on Toronto, but Toronto knew his value. They were using him. They just didn't really want to pay him for some reason. Middlestat signed a 3-year contract with the Avs. I totally forgot that he plays for the Avs, but he's also a great player. He came from Buffalo, and he was a good player on Buffalo, but Buffalo, it's just like, that's another team that's like on the kind of tilt of they might fold as a franchise if nothing happens. Obviously, Boston has traded Allmark. If anybody doesn't know the fall trade, they traded him to the Senators for Boston's first round pick back. What is the other guy's name? Jonas Corposalo was the goalie.
We've got some trade news now. The Senators have traded.
Didn't know that was video was gonna play. So that's the full trade. Move off the screen, whatever. That's the full trade. Allmark goes to the Senators. The Bruins get Corposalo, Kastelic, and a first-round pick. Their first-round pick back. I don't know who Kastelic is. I forgot to look him up yesterday, but I assume just a more depth guy, or maybe a young guy. I don't really know. Some Ottawa fans are saying he is a good player, so maybe he'll help us. But I'm really kind of hoping that they trade Corposalo because that contract is awful. It only saves Boston $1 million in cap, which is weird to trade for him. So I don't know why they agreed to take on his contract. Maybe they had to take on his contract for the Bruins to get a first round pick. And I will also add the Senators are taking on 25% of the contract. I was kind of hoping for the 7th overall pick, or maybe Kachuk, or maybe Stützle. Like, I feel like Boston could have gotten a better deal, though maybe the Senators didn't want to give up, like, more value for a goalie that's a free agent. What they probably should have done was made a deal with Allmark. Like the Senators made a deal with Allmark to sign him to an extension so that Boston could get a better offer. But maybe this was the best that they possibly could get for Allmark. So we'll see what happens. I really hope Swayman can drive it home and be a top dog for this team. I've always liked Swayman, and I was looking at getting a Swayman jersey. I was also looking at getting a Lowry jersey. Mason Lowry, I think, is going to be a top consistent player in the lineup, and Portis is going to be a consistent player in the lineup. Two guys that were picked in the second round. So we'll see what happens with the first round pick that they have. It's 25. That's where they drafted Pasternak. So maybe they can find another Pasternak. Maybe they try and trade up. They now have options, which is what they didn't have before. They now have the option, if somebody wants that pick, they can now trade it and go down, or trade it for a number 1C, or trade up and maybe a player is falling that they want. I personally think they might keep it and draft, not just because I want to see them draft a player in the first round in like several years, but they do need more prospects on this team, so maybe they could trade it for already semi-established prospects. But we'll see what happens. I'm past my limit, but remember, you're awesome, stay awesome, and rock on. Peace.